Good morning, Chasm listeners. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns Conservation District with this week's Conservation Report. And this morning I'd like to talk about a practice that we call conservation crop rotation, or simply diversifying the traditional corn-soybean rotation. Adding a small grain like wheat, barley, or rye to a corn-soybean rotation can significantly improve sustainability by enhancing soil health, diversifying crop types, reducing pest pressure, potentially lowering fertilizer needs, and spreading out labor demands across the growing season, ultimately leading to more stable and potentially higher yields over time. So a fairly new study from researchers at the University of Minnesota and Iowa State University finds that diversifying crop rotations can greatly reduce negative environmental and health impacts while maintaining profitability for farmers. The research finds that adding small grains and forages such as alfalfa to the conventional corn-soybean rotation, which dominates production in Minnesota, Iowa, and other Corn Belt states, can greatly reduce negative environmental impacts while supporting farm economies. We know that farmers have long practiced crop rotation to maintain the productivity of their land. The study showed that adding more crops to the conventional corn-soybean rotation is beneficial to both farmers and the environment. So the work was based on data from a large-scale, long-term field experiment at Iowa State University's Marsden Farm. The experiment, initiated in 2001, compares the performance characteristics of a 2-year corn-soybean rotation with those of a 3-year corn-soybean oat rotation and a 4-year corn-soybean oat alfalfa rotation. This paper adds important insights into the environmental impacts and human health consequences of conventional and more diverse cropping systems. This type of information is important for developing sustainable and resilient ways to farm while protecting our environment. The researchers looked at pollution from farming as well as from the supply chain, including the production of fertilizers, fuel, and herbicides. They combined field experiments data with emissions data and an air quality model to estimate emissions and damages from climate change, human health via pollution, and the amount of fossil fuels associated with each cropping system. They found the major driver of environmental damage is synthetic fertilizer, which requires a great deal of fossil fuel to produce. Furthermore, when fertilizer is applied to crops, it releases greenhouse gases and pollutants that harm air quality, mainly ammonia. By adding small grains and forages into rotations, less fertilizer is required and less pollution is emitted. The addition of a single small grain crop can reduce fossil fuel use, pollution, and damages by about 1/2, according to the research. The study also found more diverse cropping systems used 56% less fossil fuel, generated 54% fewer greenhouse gas emissions, and had monetized damages from greenhouse gas emissions and air pollutants 42% lower than the conventional corn-soybean system. Reintegrating farming practices from just a few generations ago has the potential to yield positive environmental benefits. More than 30 scientific papers published from the work at the Marsden Farm site have addressed crop yields, soil properties, weeds, economic costs and returns, ecological processes, and other subjects. In previous work, the researchers showed that diversifying crops could reduce soil erosion and nutrient discharge loss. This study extends the previous findings to include pollution in the air. The Midwest agricultural landscape became much less diverse after World War II as synthetic fertilizers and pesticides became more widely used, and as livestock production was largely decoupled from crop production. This work shows that return to more diverse crop rotations can be a win-win-win for farmers, the public, and the environment. This is a simple practice change that I hope farmers might consider. that could have positive impacts on water and air quality while maintaining profitability. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns Conservation District, and thanks for listening this morning.